You might have felt something inside yourself recently, and you might not have known what exactly that was. But this might just be the moment everything comes together for you. Something is building under the surface right now. Not loudly, but if you have been paying attention to how you feel over the last few days, you already know something shifted. There is a restlessness in you that is not anxiety, a pressure that is not stress, an itch toward forward movement that is not impatience. That is Aries season making contact. We are 4 days into the astrological new year. The sun entered Aries at the Spring Equinox on March 20th, and what that means is not just a change of season on a calendar. It is a reset of the entire energetic field. The zodiac wheel turns to zero. The slate does not just clear, it ignites. But here is what most people are missing about this particular Aries season. It is not arriving clean. It is arriving with weight behind it. 3 weeks of Mercury Retrograde in Pisces just ended. A rare Sun conjunct Neptune passage just occurred. The entire month of March has been a deep, slow, sometimes disorienting excavation. And now Aries is here. And Aries does not do slow. Aries does not do excavation. Aries does fire. Aries does decision. Aries does the move you have been building toward without knowing it. Today, March 24th, sits at the energetic peak of early Aries season. Mercury is still in its post-retrograde shadow, which means the clarity you received over the last few days is still stabilizing. And in the background, an alignment between Saturn and Pluto is quietly assembling itself into something that will be felt across the next several weeks. This is not a day to sleepwalk through. What you put your energy behind today has a different weight than it did a month ago. In the next few minutes, I want to explain exactly why and what this combination is asking of you specifically. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, not the most dramatic, not the most complex, the first, and there is something almost primal about what happens when the sun moves through it. Think of it like this. The zodiac is a full year-long story. Pisces, the sign the sun just left, is the final chapter, the dissolution, the return to formlessness before renewal. Pisces holds everything that is finishing, releasing, completing, or mourning. It is not a sign of action. It is a sign of surrender, and the sun spent 30 days in that energy. March was, for most people, a month of letting go of more than they expected to. Aries is the first sentence of the next story. When the sun enters Aries at 0 degrees, a biological and energetic switch flips. Not a metaphor, something real. The instinct toward self-assertion returns. The clarity about what you personally want, separate from what others need, separate from what you have been processing or healing, that personal desire signal comes back online. For people who spent March in deep emotional work, this shift can feel almost disorienting, like the volume on your own once suddenly turned back up after weeks of static. That is not selfishness. That is the season working correctly. You may have noticed it over the weekend, an impatience with ambiguity that was not there 2 weeks ago. A sharper sense of which conversations are worth having and which ones are just cycling. A pull toward doing something, anything, building something, starting something. An almost physical resistance to sitting still in uncertainty that felt acceptable when Pisces was holding everything in fog. And here is the part most people never realize about this transition. Aries season does not give you energy. It reveals the energy that was already there, waiting underneath the retrograde, underneath the Pisces dissolution, underneath the month of forced introspection. The fire was not gone, it was banked, and the sun in Aries is the match that finds it. What that means for you right now is specific, the direction you have been circling without naming it. The version of yourself you have been building in private, the step you have been almost taking. Aries season is the moment the internal becomes external, not dramatically, not all at once. But the tipping point is now, and the energy that peaks around March 24th is the first real open window of forward movement since, before the retrograde began, in late February. Here is the part of Mercury direct that almost no one talks about. Mercury stationed direct on March 21st, and for a lot of people, that news landed with relief. The fog lifted. The mental clarity returned, and with Aries season igniting at the same moment, there was an almost irresistible urge to move, to launch, to act, to finally execute on everything that had been sitting in the retrograde holding pattern. But Mercury direct is not the same as Mercury free, not yet. After a planet stations direct, it still has to cover the same ground it walked backwards during the retrograde. This is called the shadow period. Think of it like a car that has made a U-turn. The car is now moving in the right direction, but it still needs to drive past all the same landmarks it passed on the way out before it is on new road. Until Mercury clears the exact degree where the retrograde began, around late March, early April, the planet is technically still reviewing familiar territory. What does that mean practically? It does not mean stop, it means calibrate. The clarity that arrived with Mercury direct is real. The decisions that surfaced over the last few days are real. But there is a difference between knowing what you want and executing that with full precision. The shadow period is the universe asking you to take the information from the retrograde and apply it deliberately, not reactively. The mistake most people make right now is rushing. The retrograde ended, the fog lifted, Aries season fired up, and suddenly everything feels urgent. Every decision feels like it needs to happen today, but urgency and clarity are not the same thing. Aries has a tendency to confuse them, and here is the reframe for that restlessness. The shadow period is not a delay, it is a precision window. You now have the clarity from weeks of forced reflection and the returning energy of Aries season. Used together, that combination is more powerful than acting on either one alone. The Mercury shadow period ends around April 7th. Between now and then, every step you take is informed by more self-knowledge than you had in February. That is not a limitation. That is a significant advantage. Move, but move with the intelligence the retrograde gave you. While Aries season is asking for momentum and Mercury is asking for precision, there is a third energy operating underneath both of them. Slower, quieter, more structural. Saturn and Pluto are forming a sextile. That means they are moving into a 60-degree angle with each other, a productive, cooperative alignment between two of the most serious forces in the entire zodiac. Saturn is currently in early Aries, Pluto is in early Aquarius. And as this aspect tightens over the coming weeks, something becomes available that has not been available in quite this form for a long time. To understand why this matters, you need to understand what these two planets represent individually. Saturn is the planet of structure, discipline, earned reward, and long-term consequence. It rules the things that last. It does not care about what you want in the moment. It cares about what you are actually building. Saturn in Aries is particularly sharp because it is the planet of consequence placed inside the sign of initiation. Every beginning started under this Saturn carries weight. Every decision made now is also a structural decision, not just about today, but about the foundation you are laying for the next several years. Pluto is the planet of transformation at the deepest level, not surface change, not new habits or fresh starts. Pluto deals in the irreversible. It rules death and rebirth, the kind of transformation where the version of you that comes out the other side does not fully resemble the version that went in. Pluto in Aquarius is focused on collective and individual reinvention, who you are becoming as a person in relation to the world, not who you were told to be, who you actually are. When Saturn and Pluto form a sextile, the invitation is specific. It is the chance to take the deep transformation Pluto has been working on inside you and give it an actual structure, a framework, a form that can survive contact with the real world. Pluto changes who you are. Saturn builds the life that matches who you have become. And here is the part most people never realize. A sextile is not a push, it is an opening. Saturn and Pluto sextile do not force anything, they make something possible that was not possible before. The alignment creates an available channel between who you are becoming and what you are building, but you have to choose to walk through it. That choice is most alive right now, in these days. In this Aries season peak, the window is open. The question is whether you are paying attention. Three forces are operating simultaneously right now. Aries season igniting your personal fire. Mercury direct returning clear communication and honest self-knowledge. Saturn and Pluto forming a slow, structural background alignment between transformation and permanence. Individually, each of these is significant. Together, they form something unusual. There are moments in any year where the energetic conditions align in a way that makes a particular type of action not just possible, but almost inevitable. Not in a fated, passive sense, but in the sense that the resistance lowers, the clarity rises, the direction becomes undeniable, and the cost of not moving starts to feel higher than the cost of moving. This is one of those moments. Think of it like this: you have spent the last month in deep water. Pisces season and the retrograde were an underwater experience, slow, pressurized, full of things rising from the depths that you did not ask to look at. And now you are surfacing. Aries season is the shore, the sun is out, the direction forward is visible. And everything you found in the water, every truth, every pattern you finally named, every decision you could no longer pretend was not already made. You get to bring that back to the surface with you. The version of you that acts in Aries season 2026 is not the same version that entered Pisces season in February. You are making decisions with information you did not have. You are moving toward things with a clarity about what no longer fits that would not have been possible 2 months ago. You may notice this in specific, practical ways. A project that felt murky suddenly has an obvious first step. A relationship conversation you have been avoiding suddenly feels less threatening and more necessary. A direction you have been researching without committing to suddenly stops requiring more research and starts requiring a decision. These are not coincidences. That is the energetic peak of early Aries season doing exactly what it is designed to do. It is not pressure, it is permission. The universe is not demanding that you act. It is finally making it easier to. There is a specific type of person who is going to feel the energy of this week more acutely than most. And it is not the person who has been moving freely and confidently through 2026 so far. It is the one who has been ready to move for longer than they should have had to wait. If you spent the last 3 weeks of Mercury retrograde sitting with a decision that kept almost clarifying and then pulling back into fog. If you had a clear sense of what direction you needed to move in, but could not access the certainty required to actually start moving. If you felt the energy of something building inside you, but the timing felt wrong in a way you could not explain. This week is the direct answer to that specific waiting. The people who feel Aries season most intensely are not necessarily Aries placements. They are the people for whom the internal work of late February and March actually did something. The ones who went through the retrograde seriously, who sat with the hard questions, who let memories and patterns surface without immediately running from them, who allowed themselves to understand what they had been avoiding. That kind of work does not happen so that you can continue sitting with it indefinitely. It happens so that you have something real and solid to act from. The retrograde gave you the intelligence. Aries season gives you the ignition. And if any of that lands for you, if the last month genuinely shifted something in your understanding of yourself or your direction, then what you are feeling this week is not impatience. It is readiness, and there is a significant difference between the two. Impatience pushes against the current. Readiness is the current finally moving in your direction. Aries season has a very particular demand. It is not complicated, but it requires something that weeks of Pisces and retrograde energy made temporarily difficult. It requires a decision. Not a grand gesture, not a public announcement or a dramatic life overhaul, just one real decision about one real thing, made clearly, without the fog of overthinking, without the cushion of maybe. There is a version of this energy where people get swept up in the fire of Aries and make 10 decisions at once. They restructure everything. They start everything. They move in every direction simultaneously and end up exhausted and scattered before the season is even halfway through. That is Aries without Saturn's influence. Impulsive, unsustainable. But this year Saturn is sitting in early Aries, and the Saturn-Pluto sextile is building in the background, which means the Aries energy available right now is not just fire, it is structured fire. It is the kind of beginning that is designed to last rather than the kind that burns bright for a week and fizzles. That changes what the energy is asking for. It is not asking for everything at once. It is asking for one authentic move in the direction you have already decided internally is right. One step that comes from what the retrograde revealed rather than from the adrenaline of a fresh start. Saturn rewards precision over speed. Pluto rewards authenticity over performance. Aries rewards courage over comfort. All three are present right now. The combination does not need you to do more. It needs you to do one true thing, completely, without holding part of yourself back. That is the move this moment is built for. There is something worth saying plainly about where we are right now in 2026. January was a recalibration. February accelerated into eclipse season and the beginning of Mercury Retrograde. March was one of the most energetically compressed months in recent years. A solar eclipse, a blood moon total lunar eclipse, a planetary parade, Mercury Retrograde in Pisces, a Mercury chasm, a spring equinox, a sun conjunct Neptune. Month after month of energy that asked you to slow down, look inward, process what was underneath, and release what no longer fit. That was not punishment, that was preparation. And now Aries season is here, and all of that preparation has a direction to move in. The version of you that enters late March 2026 is not the same version that began the year, not dramatically. Not in ways that require a story or an explanation, but in the quiet ways that determine everything. What you are willing to tolerate, what you are done pretending does not matter. What you are ready to build, what you finally understand about yourself that you did not understand in January, that is the raw material Aries season works with, not wishes, not intentions. Actual understanding, actual clarity, the kind that only comes from having been through something real. The Saturn and Pluto alignment building in the background is not going to push you. It is going to support whatever you build with genuine structure and intentionality. The Mercury shadow period is not going to slow you down. It is going to make sure what you move toward is built on something real rather than something reactive. The conditions right now are not perfect. They never are, but they are aligned. And aligned is something different from perfect. Aligned means the forces are not working against each other. Aligned means the movement you have been building toward has ground beneath it. If you are still here, and thank you for being here, then something in this video was already confirming what part of you already knows. That confirmation is not a coincidence. It is the season finding the people who are actually ready for it. The fire did not leave you during March. It was just waiting for the right conditions to be useful. Those conditions are here now. And they have your name on them.